Once you get all your 2x4s picked out, go over to the aisle where they sell the hardware, and you're going to find this is all thread. What I decided to go with was 3/8. I originally picked up 7/16, but it seemed like it was a little bit overkill, and this was it seemed like a pretty good value. You're going to need 7 pieces of this at 3/8 diameter, and these are 4 feet long. These came out to $3.50 a piece, so 350 times 7. Did I do the math on here? So the all thread was about $25. And then go over to the hardware side, and I found these little packets here. They're 18-piece packets, and these are 3/8 bolts, and they include a washer, lock washer, and the nut and the whole thing. And you need 3 of these. And these came out to $1.50 a piece. And that's basically it for the whole top. There is one other thing. You're going to need a lot of glue. Just go ahead and shop around. I bought this one on Amazon. I think it was $12 for the whole gallon of Titebond, because we're going to use a lot of glue on this. This is a lot of weight, a lot of material, a lot of surface area. So that's basically it right there. And if you're not clear what the all thread is for, here's a bench that I built when Jack was just a baby right there. And you can see that's how it's held together. So what the thread does is, if you're building a bench and you're just getting started, you're not going to have a whole bunch of wood clamps to laminate this together. And we'll drill all these, and we'll run the all thread. It goes all the way through, and then we can tighten this up, and that makes just an excellent clamp. It looks nice, and if it ever does start to spread a little bit, we can always put a little pressure on it and tighten it up. We're going to start by ripping our 2x4s down to 3 inches. Now, you're going to need a table saw to do this. And don't worry if you don't have a table saw. I would be willing to guess that 1 out of 3 or 4 guys in America have a table saw, and they'd be glad to let you use them. The reason why we're going to rip these down is, if you can see here, now your 2x4 is not a 2x4. It actually measures 3.5 by 1.5 inches. You can see right there, 3.5 by 1.5 inches. And the reason why that is when it's rough cut back in the day from the sawmill, before it was planed and finished nice like this, that's what it started at. By the time it's surfaced and planed and all that, it cuts down to that 1.5 inches by 3.5. What we're ultimately going to end up with is a 3-inch by 1.5 inches. Do you see that round corner on there? That's called a bull nose, and that's not what we want on our workbench. If we were to leave that bull nose on there and laminate all these together, we would have a V groove in our workbench. It's going to just fill up with dirt and grime, and it's just not going to be good at all. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take our table saw, and we're going to set the fence to 3 1/4. We're going to rip a 1/2 inch off of these, 1/4 each side. Now, you could get by with a tiny bit less, but when you start figuring in for discrepancies and imperfections in the wood, we want it to be square and as neat as possible. To be safe, we're just going to go ahead and do 1/4 and 1/4. So let's set the fence on our saw for 3 1/4, and we're going to rip all of these on one side, then we'll set the fence for 3 inches, and then we'll rip all the other ones on the other side. All right, settle in, guys. We're going to be here a while. We've got to make 44 cuts. So we're going to set our fence for exactly 3 1/4 inches for our first cut. That is half of our rips. You can kind of get an idea of what the bench top's going to look like. The stud there on the right side, that's one that's got both sides cut, so that will be the 3 inches. But this is going to make a very strong, very heavy table. I gave you the wrong numbers there. Actually, out of 24 studs, I had 3 left over. The 20, what do we have there? 20. My goodness, math on camera. 21 studs comes out to 31.5 inches, and I think that's sufficient. Now, when we get the holes all drilled, if we have something that goes completely crazy on us and just isn't working, you know, really a bad board that we overlooked when picking out, we've got 3 in reserve, and we can do that. So I think I'm not going to rip them yet. I don't want to waste them if we don't need them, so we can always come back and do that. Here's the waste that will make a lot of nice kindling. I've gotten the habit of just taking my shop vac and I just poke it in that hole there and turning that on when I cut. It just keeps a lot of the dust out of the shop because the vacuums have the bags in them, you know. So a question always comes up here about these cordless, of course they're electric, these cordless table saws, if I would recommend it. It has its place, but I'll tell you, just take a guess here. How many batteries do you think I went through to rip one, to make 20, what do we have, 21 rips there? How many batteries do you think I had to, I'll show you. So, I have them all charging right here. We have 7 batteries to get to that point, and I just, on that last board, I slapped a new one in. So you would need to do 21 rips, or let's say 24 rips, you'd have to have 8 batteries. I do have a big shop table saw back there, that runs off a 240, but since I've got this little one, I just don't use it anymore just because of the convenience of it. So is this a suitable saw for this type of work? No, but it's really handy in that you don't have to deal with the cord, especially if you're like a finished carpenter or something like that. So if I were to recommend one, I would get a small kind of a tabletop table saw, but I would get the corded version unless you are like a finished carpenter and having the cordless is really important. But the corded one's going to be cheaper and it will just serve you fine. I mean, I've been using this one for a couple years, heavy, and it's just been a good saw. Well, guys, I'm afraid that's probably about all the time we have for today. I'll go ahead and rip the other side. When we come back next time, we'll make the template and we'll do the layout and we'll drill all the holes, glue everything together and do the all thread and get everything prepped. So if you want to have a really good workbench, one that will last you your whole life, that will just be a joy to have in your shop and to work with, just go get the stuff. It's not a huge investment, and it's going to be something, we're going to do it right. It'll be the last workbench you'll ever have to use. Now, of course, it's obvious here, but if you want to make one that's bigger, let's say you want to make a 10 or even a 12 or a 14, you can do the exact same thing. Just get the longer material, a few extra all threads, and I might recommend, if you're going to go over 10 foot, I probably would drop a 3rd leg in there. I'd order a 3rd. That's going to bring your price up a little bit, but that's a lot of flex in there. So if you could put 3 legs in, I think that would help tremendously. But you know, my granddad, he was a mechanic and a very handy guy. His workbench was similar to this, and it was only, I'm guessing, but I would say it wasn't any more than 6 feet long. So 7 feet, 7.5 feet, 8 feet is really ideal. I think my carpenter bench in the wood shop is around 6 foot, and I don't want for anything. I think that that's a really good length. So if you have a small garage or small shop, or you just don't want anything too big, don't think that 6 foot won't be good, because it was good enough for my granddad forever, and he did all sorts of things on it. I mean, I grew up working on that shop, so I think that between 7 and 8 foot is a good length that is going to serve guys really, really well. All right, well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to join us on the next part. We'll get a little bit more progress. There was a lot of chit-chat in this video because there's, I have to kind of lay out what we're doing here, but we'll get more done next time. So I do have the next components coming in. We're not going to stop just with the bench. I'm going to show you how I would do it if I had nothing. If I was starting from absolute scratch, from minimum, and I was on a tight budget, these are the things, and in the order I would buy. I would start with the bench, and the vise will be coming in today. I've done a lot of digging around and a lot of surfing on the forums, And so you guys don't have to, and I think I found a good vise that's going to be, it'll surprise you how inexpensive it is, but I need to lay my hands on it to see for sure, but I think it's going to fill the bill just perfectly. And then we'll move on from there in the order of things that I would purchase. So after the vise will be a bench grinder, and I actually have that here too. So we're going to do the whole thing. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the thumbs up, and may God bless you and your families. Keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you guys on the next video.